Hi everyone! Welcome to our new audiobook. I really appreciate it if you could subscribe or liked the video. It helps me a lot. The novel of the same name is also available on Amazon Kindle. If you enjoy this book, please support the author's work by clicking the link below. Now, let's start.
Chapter 1. The Night That Changed Everything. Lavinia's Point of View. I watched the sex tape of my mate Alpha Noah and our son's nanny Chloe all night. The phone screen glowed in the darkness of my bedroom, casting harsh shadows across my face. My fingers trembled as I replayed the video for the 100th time. Each moan, each thrust, each whispered word carved deeper into my soul like silver claws. Last night, thunder had jolted me awake. The storm outside matched the chaos brewing in my chest as I reached across the bed, only to find Noah's side cold and empty. His scent lingered on the silk sheets, but he was nowhere to be found. I searched his study first. Empty. Then I heard its soft sounds drifting from the first floor. My bare feet padded silently down the marble staircase, following the noise like a moth drawn to flame. Chloe's door stood slightly ajar. Golden light spilled through the crack, and with it came the unmistakable sounds of flesh against flesh. My heart stopped. Through the gap, I saw him. My partner of 10 years. The one destined for me, who has loved me deeply since our teenage years. The father of my cub, Luke Noah, was pressing Chloe against the windowsill, roughly entering her from behind. Rain was beating fiercely against the glass, her nurse uniform bunched up around her waist. Is this some kind of unusual kink? Oh, Alpha, Chloe gasped, her voice dripping with satisfaction as Noah pinned her against the windowsill. You're so much bigger than... Shut up, Noah growled, gripping her hips tightly as he fucked her roughly and violently. You little slut, dressing like this you just want me to fuck you senseless, don't you? The lewd sounds of their coupling filled the air, each wet slap a dagger to my heart. Tell me, Chloe purred, arching her back against him, does it feel better with me? Or with your precious Luna? My breath caught in my throat. How dare she? Noah's hand moved to cup her breast, squeezing roughly. You're nothing but a toy, Chloe. A sexy little doll for me to use when I need release. Don't ever compare yourself to Lavinia. Relief flooded through me for a split second before Chloe's next words destroyed it completely. Then why do you drug her every night? She taunted, grinding back against him. Why put sleeping pills in her precious tea if you don't prefer me in your bed? My blood turned to ice. Because she's too weak to satisfy me, Noah growled, his thrusts becoming more violent. Ever since she gave birth to Luke, she's been fragile. Pathetic. I need you, you slut, to let me fuck you. No. No. The tuberose tea. The one that helped me sleep so peacefully every night. The one Noah personally brewed for me with such tender care, telling me it would help my health recover from Luke's difficult birth. It was all a lie. He'd been drugging me. For how long? Years. Also, he could sneak down here and rut with our son's caregiver like an animal in heat. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone, fingers barely steady enough to start recording. I captured everything, their move from the windowsill to the sofa, then finally to Chloe's bed. Every thrust, every moan, every whispered endearment that should have been mine. That's it, Noah groaned, his face contorting with pleasure as Chloe wrapped her legs around his waist. Take it all, you little whore. Yes, Alpha, she cried out, her nails raking down his back. Breed me like you bred your Luna. The words hit me like physical blows. I stumbled backward, nearly dropping my phone as bile rose in my throat. When I finally made it back to my bedroom, I collapsed onto the bed and watched the video again, and again, and again. Noah never came back that night. As dawn broke through the windows, painting everything in shades of gold and pink that once would have seemed beautiful, I made my decision. The Lavinia who had endured in silence, who had made excuses for her mate's distance, who had blamed herself for not being enough that Lavinia died with the sunrise. I was done. Noah might be on the verge of becoming the Alpha King of the Northern Territory. He might believe I was trapped, weakened by the loss of my wolf during Luke's birth, dependent on his protection and provision. But Noah didn't know who I really was. Those years he thought I'd spent studying abroad in Europe. I'd been training with Michael Caine's rogue organization, becoming his most trusted second-in-command. The legendary cipher wasn't just a ghost story whispered among pack wolves. She was me. And now, 6 years later, Michael Caine ruled as the Alpha King of the European territory. My fingers trembled as I scrolled through my contacts to a number I'd memorized but never dared call. The phone rang once, twice. "Livy? Is that you? You finally called me." Michael's voice was exactly as I remembered, warm, strong, safe. "It's me," I whispered, my voice cracking despite my efforts to stay strong. "Michael, I need help. Can you get me out of here?" Silence spread between us. I was uneasy. 6 years had passed. Did he still need me? Without the wolf, it seemed I was no longer of any use to him. "Of course," he said finally, and I could hear the smile in his voice, even as concern colored his tone. "I've been waiting 6 years for this call, Livy. Give me 1 month to prepare. You know the kind of control Noah has over the Northern Territory. Now we need to be careful." Relief flooded through me so powerfully I nearly sobbed. "I want to bring my son, Luke, with me. Is that possible?" 2 plane tickets," Michael replied without hesitation. "Livy, in 1 month, I'll come personally to bring you home." Home. The word felt foreign and wonderful on my tongue. I ended the call and walked to my desk, pulling out a calendar with hands that finally felt steady. I circled a date 30 days from now in red ink, the color bold and defiant against the pristine white paper. 30 days until freedom. The countdown began now. Chapter 2. The truth everyone knew. Lavinia's point of view. I walked towards the closet, ready to change out of my pajamas. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting everything in a deceptively peaceful glow. But as I reached for a fresh dress, something caught my eye on the closet floor. A pair of torn, red lace panties lay crumpled in the corner, reeking of Jasmine Chloe's signature scent, and stained with semen that unmistakably smelled of Noah. My stomach churned. How long had this stuff been here? How many times had he brought her into our bedroom, into our sacred space? Or had Chloe thrown it in here to provoke me? Since I had already decided to abandon this disgusting man, things like this will no longer stir my heart. I put on a pair of gloves with a cold sneer, ready to throw these disgusting things back in that bitch's face. I picked up the soiled underwear and headed downstairs, my steps so light that even the Omega servants didn't notice my approach. They were gathered in the kitchen, chatting idly as they prepared breakfast. "That slut was at it again last night," one of them whispered, scrubbing dishes with unnecessary force. Whenever the Alpha's home, her moans echo through the entire villa. The cook nodded knowingly. "I found her bodily fluids on the kitchen counter this morning. Had to scrub it clean before anyone else saw." "She's a natural-born whore," another servant added with disgust, "capable of luring the Alpha to her room every single night. Poor Luna has no idea what's happening under her own roof." My blood ran cold. They all knew. Every single person in this house knew about Noah's affair except me. When they spotted me standing in the living room, holding the underwear, they froze like deer caught in headlights. The kitchen fell silent except for the sound of running water. An Omega servant finally plucked up the courage to speak, her voice trembling. "Luna Lavinia, isn't today Parent-Child Day at the creche? We were wondering why you hadn't left yet." Parent-Child Day. I had completely forgotten in my haze of betrayal and rage. "I'm leaving now," I said quietly, dropping the panties on the counter. "Make sure these find their way back to their owner." I rushed upstairs, threw on the first dress I could find, and hastily drove to the Crimson Pup creche. My hands shook on the steering wheel as I replayed the servant's words. How long had I been the laughingstock of my own pack house? My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles were white, but I forced myself to focus. Luke needed me there. Whatever was happening between Noah and me, my son came first. At the nursery entrance, a young teacher I didn't recognize stopped me with a bright smile. "Excuse me, are you here for Parent-Child Day?" she asked cheerfully. "Yes, I'm here for Luke Redgrave. I'm his mother." The teacher's smile faltered, confusion clouding her features. "But hasn't the Luna already arrived?" My blood turned to ice. "I am Luna Lavinia, Luke's mother." The teacher pointed toward the playground, her voice uncertain. "Then who is that?" I followed her gaze and felt my world tilt on its axis. Chloe. Chloe was there, playing with my son, laughing as he chased her around the playground equipment. She was wearing one of her flowing sundresses, the kind that made her look innocent and motherly. Luna Lavinia! Linda, Luke's regular teacher, came rushing over with panic in her eyes. She shot the new teacher a warning look and quickly ushered her away. "I'm so glad you could make it. Please, come inside." But I was already moving toward the playground, toward my son who was giggling in the arms of his father's mistress. "Luke!" I called out, my voice carrying across the yard. My little boy turned, his dark hair catching the sunlight. But when he saw I was empty-handed, his face immediately scrunched into a scowl. "Where's the venison pie?" he demanded, his small hands planted on his hips in a gesture that reminded me painfully of Noah. "You promised yesterday you'd bring it today. Where's the venison pie?" he demanded, not even bothering with a greeting. "You promised yesterday you'd bring it from the Neutral Zone bakery." My mind went blank. In all the chaos of discovering Noah's affair, I had completely forgotten. "I'm sorry, honey. I forgot, but I can." "Go buy it now!" Luke shouted, his small face red with rage. "Chloe's been talking about it for days. She really wants to try it." Chloe stepped forward, with a perfectly practiced look of understanding. "Oh, Luke, it's okay. I can go buy it myself later." "No!" Luke cut her off imperiously. "Mom has time. The famous bakery in the Neutral Zone has a 3-hour wait, but Mom doesn't have anything important to do." He looked at me with the kind of casual cruelty that only children could manage. "She loves doing things for me anyway. She'd be sad if she couldn't serve me. That's what she was born for." The words hit me like a physical slap. My own son, my precious boy that I'd nearly died bringing into this world, was speaking to me like I was a servant, like I existed solely for his convenience. I swallowed my anger and forced a smile. "You're right, sweetheart. I'm sorry I forgot. I won't forget tomorrow." Luke replied impatiently, not even looking at me. "You'd better not forget." Each word felt like a silver knife sliding between my ribs. This was my child, the puppy I'd carried for 9 months, the premature pup I'd nursed back to health with sleepless nights and endless worry. When he'd been born too early and too small, I'd barely left his side. I'd regulated every aspect of his life to ensure he grew strong and healthy, sacrificing my own needs for his. To ensure he grew up healthy, I was extremely meticulous about his life. I didn't allow him to touch junk food and enforced a strict schedule for meals, sleep, and play. Every decision I made was for his well-being. 6 months ago, I had fallen gravely ill with a mysterious condition that left me bedridden for weeks. That's when Noah hired Chloe to come to the pack house as Luke's nanny. I never imagined that after only 6 months with her, my son would favor her so completely over his own mother. The coach's whistle blew across the playground. "Attention, parents and pups! It's time for our 3-legged race. Each team needs 1 parent and 1 child." My heart leaped with hope. This was my chance to reconnect with Luke, to show him that I could be fun and playful too. "Luke!" I said, excitedly moving toward him. "Let's be partners. This will be fun." But without even looking up from where he sat on the grass, Luke tied his own leg to Chloe's with the provided rope. "Chloe is better suited for this game." I dropped to my knees beside him and grabbed his small hand. "Luke, I am your mother. I want to play with you." He violently shook me off, his face contorting with annoyance. "Mum, you're so annoying." I don't actually need you to be my mum. Chapter 3. The Final Blow. Lavinia's point of view. I knelt there on the grass, staring at Luke as he sat beside Chloe, their legs already tied together for the race. My heart was breaking into 1,000 pieces, but I had to know the truth. Luke, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, if you had to choose, who would you rather have as your mother? Luke didn't even hesitate. He looked up at Chloe with adoring eyes and smiled brightly. Mummy Chloe, of course. The word mommy hit me like a silver bullet to the chest. He called her mommy. My son called his father's mistress mommy. Mummy Chloe's so much more fun than you. Luke continued with the casual cruelty that only children could deliver. Mummy Chloe plays football with me and takes me for burgers and lets me stay up late. You're always so strict and boring. You never want to play, you just make rules and tell me to eat vegetables. Each word was a dagger to my heart, but I forced myself to speak past the pain. Luke, I used to be fun too. I had the swiftest wolf in the entire pack. None of the male wolves could outrun me. I was amazing at football and baseball, better than most of the warriors. My voice cracked as the memories flooded back. I could have played with you every day, taught you every sport, run through the forests with you on my back. But when you were born, I swallowed hard, trying to make a 5-year-old understand a sacrifice he'd never asked for. Something went wrong. I lost my wolf to save your life. My body became weak, so you could be strong. For a moment, Luke fell silent, something flickering in his dark eyes that might have been uncertainty. That's when Chloe struck. Oh, Luna Lavinia, she said with false sympathy, her tone dripping with mock concern. I know you would do anything for Luke. Truly I do. But you can't always use guilt to manipulate a pup into choosing things or people he doesn't actually want. My hands clenched into fists at my sides. The audacity of this woman, lecturing me about my own child while stealing my family. Even though I'm an Omega, Chloe continued, her eyes meeting mine with a challenge. I'm younger, more energetic, more beautiful, and submissive enough to let alphas indulge their true selves. Her words seemed innocent enough to any observer, but I heard the real message underneath. She was talking about Noah, about how she was younger, more energetic, more beautiful. The implication was crystal clear. She was everything I wasn't, everything Noah apparently wanted. Luke's courage returned with Chloe's support. He roughly pushed my hands away from him. Mum, you need to understand my desire to win, he said firmly. Chloe and I are going to win this race. He high-fived Chloe enthusiastically, and she beamed at him like he was the most precious thing in the world. That's when Noah came rushing over, his face dark with rage. Chloe! He barked, his alpha voice cutting through the playground noise. How dare you speak to my Luna with such disrespect? Apologize to her immediately, or I'll have you banished from this pack. Chloe immediately cowered, her eyes wide with fear. I'm so sorry, Luna Lavinia. I didn't mean any disrespect. Please forgive me. The performance was flawless. To anyone watching, Noah looked like the perfect protective mate defending his Luna's honor. Chloe looked like a contrite servant who had overstepped her bounds. But I saw right through their charade. The coldness in my heart spread like ice through my veins. All I wanted now was to take my son away from these two toxic people. I believed that once I got Luke away from their influence, he would be okay again. He had to be. But then Luke exploded. Stop yelling at Mummy Chloe! My son screamed, launching himself between his father and his mistress like a tiny warrior. She's not bad. She's the best. It's my stupid, ugly mother who's the problem. The playground fell silent. Every parent, every child, every teacher stopped what they were doing to stare at the alpha's pup defending his nanny against his own mother. He turned to me with eyes full of contempt that no child should possess. You're extremely stupid and old, Mum. You don't even have a wolf anymore. You're not even an Omega. You're worse than an Omega. The words hit me like physical blows. My own son, my precious boy, was looking at me like I was nothing, like I was less than nothing. My hands began to tremble. I could barely form the words. Luke, do you really prefer Chloe as your mother? He looked at me with those cold, dark eyes, Noah's eyes, and said the word that shattered what was left of my heart. Yes, that single word destroyed me completely. I watched as Luke turned back to Chloe, laughing and chatting with her, like I didn't exist, like I had never existed. My spirit broke. 6 years of sacrifice, of putting his needs before my own, of nearly dying to bring him into this world, and this was what I got in return. Noah moved toward me, his face suddenly full of concern. Lavinia, don't listen to him. He's just a child. He doesn't understand what he's saying. His voice was gentle now, soothing, the same voice that used to comfort me after nightmares. I'll have my mother fire Chloe immediately, he promised, reaching for my hand. We'll find a new nanny, someone better, someone who knows her place. But his gentle words sounded like poison now. Everything he said was a lie. Everything had always been a lie. Since both my mate and my son had chosen Chloe over me, I was done with them. I didn't want either of them anymore. I pushed Noah away with more force than I'd used in years. Don't touch me, I said quietly, stepping back from his reaching hands. Livy, please, I said, don't touch me. Then I turned and walked away from the playground, away from my son's laughter, away from the life I'd thought was mine. Noah tried to chase after me, but I heard Chloe's voice stop him. Alpha, maybe you should let the Luna cool down on her own. She seems very upset, and sometimes space is what people need when they're emotional. How thoughtful of her. How caring. I reached my Porsche and slid into the driver's seat, my hands steady for the first time all day. Noah appeared at my window, banging on the glass. Lavinia, open the door. We need to talk about this. I looked at him through the glass. This man who had been drugging me, cheating on me, lying to me for years. This man who had let our son turn into a spoiled, cruel child under his mistress's influence. I ignored his attempts to make me stay. I slammed my foot on the accelerator and sped away. Chapter 4. The final blow. Noah's point of view. The moment I pushed Chloe onto the leather sofa in the nursery's private lounge, Logan, my wolf, finally stopped his incessant pacing. Only violent, raw sex could quiet the beast inside me when he got like this, restless and hungry for something Lavinia could no longer give. I drove into Chloe with punishing force, my hands gripping her hips hard enough to bruise. She moaned beneath me, her back arching as I took what I needed from her willing body. This is what I need, I told myself as I watched her breasts bounce with each thrust. This is what keeps me sane. But even as I lost myself in Chloe's heat, my mind drifted back to how this all started. 6 years ago, everything had been perfect. Lavinia and I had been electric together, her graceful figure moving beneath me, those long, sexy legs wrapped around my waist as I made love to her with a passion that left us both breathless. Then Luke's birth changed everything. The difficult labor that nearly killed her also stole her wolf, leaving my beautiful, powerful mate weak and fragile. The vigorous sex that had once been our escape became impossible. She simply couldn't handle my strength anymore. Worse, without her wolf to balance mine, Logan became increasingly unstable. My heat cycles grew more violent, more demanding. I needed an outlet, or I would have destroyed her completely. The first time I saw Chloe was at Marcus Reed's pool party, exactly 5 years ago. She'd been floating in the water, her body fuller and more voluptuous than Lavinia's refined elegance. The black bikini barely contained her generous curves, her breasts floating on the surface like an invitation I couldn't ignore. She looked enough like Lavinia to satisfy my wolf, but different enough to justify what I was about to do. I'd dragged her from that pool and taken her upstairs to one of the guest rooms. The moment we were alone, she dropped to her knees without being asked, taking me into her mouth with an enthusiasm that Lavinia, proper, dignified Lavinia, would never show. From that night forward, Chloe became my release valve. Every position too rough for my weakened mate, every primal urge that would have hurt Lavinia, I channeled it all into Chloe's willing body. She was the perfect vessel for my violence, absorbing all of Logan's fury so I could return home gentle and loving to my true mate. Chloe was nothing more than a sex toy, a means to an end. Lavinia was my heart, my soul, my everything. This arrangement protected her from the monster I became when Logan took control. Alpha. Chloe's breathy moan pulled me back to the present. She wrapped her arms around my neck, her nails digging into my shoulders. I'm so sorry about earlier. I'll never dare go near the Luna again. Please don't be angry with me. I grabbed her throat, squeezing just hard enough to make her gasp, and drove deeper into her. You disrespected my mate. I growled against her ear. I should throw you out of this pack for that alone. Please, she whimpered, though her body was responding to my roughness with obvious pleasure. Let me make it up to you. I'll do anything. Suddenly, I froze. Something was wrong. Lavinia was moving away from me. Even though her wolf had gone dormant and our mate bond was weakened, my alpha senses could still track her location. I pulled out of Chloe abruptly and grabbed my phone, opening the tracking app. The red dot that represented my mate was moving farther and farther from the center. Chloe hugged me from behind, her voice sickeningly sweet. Dear Noe, isn't Luke's training session ending soon? Let's go pick him up. The nickname hit me like a physical blow. Something precious was slipping away, and hearing those words from her lips felt like sacrilege. I spun around and slapped her hard across the face. Don't call me that. Her cheek reddened instantly, but I felt no remorse. Only my Livy has the right to call me by that name. I rushed out of the office, leaving her there holding her face. Lavinia's point of view. The spring rain fell in steady sheets over the memorial grove, turning the earth around my mother's headstone into dark, rich soil. I'd been standing here for over an hour, letting the cold water soak through my clothes as I stared at Lyra's photograph embedded in the white marble. My phone buzzed with a new message. The sender was Chloe. It was a photo of her and Noah having sex, his face contorted in ecstasy as he pressed against her naked body. He was on top of her, his face twisted in bliss as he entered her. Her legs were wrapped around his waist, just like I used to do. The timestamp showed it was taken less than an hour ago. Judging by the background, it was in Alpha's private lounge in the daycare center. My son was still on the playground below, yet they couldn't restrain their lustful desires. Mum, I'm sorry, I whispered to the headstone. I've decided to sever the mate bond with Noe and give him custody of Luke. I want to take you away from here. My voice cracked on the last words. I couldn't stay in this place anymore, couldn't let her memory be tainted by the poison of my failed marriage. Suddenly, an umbrella appeared above me, shielding me from the wind and rain. Where do you want to take, Mum? I looked up in surprise to see Noah's clear amber eyes staring down at me with concern. How did you know I was here? I asked, stepping back instinctively. Our mate bond, he said softly. Even weakened, I can still sense when you're in distress. He pulled me into his arms, his embrace tight and desperate. He was obviously lying. The mate bond had gone completely silent along with my wolf. Otherwise, how could I not have sensed he was cheating? His body was burning hot against my ice-cold heart, but the warmth couldn't reach me anymore. I could smell jasmine on his clothes, Chloe's scent, still clinging to him. Were you worried you'd done something wrong? I asked carefully, testing him. Noah's expression grew serious. He raised 3 fingers before my mother's grave, his voice solemn and clear. My love, I swear before your mother that I have never done, am not doing, and will never do anything to betray our bond as mates. If I were to betray you, may the moon goddess strike me down. Thunder rumbled immediately overhead, so loud and sudden that Noah jumped. Even the sky seemed to be exposing his lie. I believe you, I said quietly, though we both knew I didn't. Leaving Noah wasn't going to be as simple as I'd imagined. He was still the alpha of the Crimson Pack, still Luke's father, still bound to me by laws both supernatural and legal. We walked down the mountain path together under our umbrellas, the silence heavy between us. I remembered how he'd helped my mother and me 10 years ago, ensuring her final days were comfortable and worry-free. He'd been so kind then, so genuine in his care for both of us. I couldn't understand how that man had become this one, how someone who'd shown such compassion could betray me so completely. I was about to ask him directly when Noah opened the passenger door of his car. Chloe was sitting inside. She wore a white slip dress with a small shawl draped over her shoulders. Her bare neck was covered in fresh purple hickeys. He actually dared to bring his mistress to my mother's grave. Chapter 5. The Final Blow. Lavinia's point of view. Get out! Noah's furious roar exploded behind me like thunder. Who the hell gave you permission to sit in my Luna's seat? I spun around to see him roughly dragging Chloe from the passenger seat, his face twisted with what looked like genuine rage. She stumbled and fell into the muddy gravel, her white dress immediately staining brown. Noah, she began, but he cut her off with a snarl. That seat belongs to Lavinia. Only Lavinia. For a split second, something warm flickered in my chest. Maybe. Then Chloe dropped to her knees in the mud before me, her hands clasped in perfect supplication, crocodile tears streaming down her cheeks. Luna Lavinia, she sobbed. I beg you, please don't let Elder Ilukanora send me away. I'll do anything, I'll leave the pack house, I'll work in the kitchens, anything. Just, please don't banish me. My blood ran cold. Ilukanora Noah's mother wanted Chloe gone? When had that happened? How did Chloe even know? Mum! Luke's voice piped up from inside the car, his small face appearing at the window with an accusatory scowl. Why did you say bad things about Chloe to Grandma? That's mean. Understanding hit me like a slap. Chloe had orchestrated this entire scene. She'd brought Luke here specifically to create discord between us, to make me look like the villain who'd complained about her to Ilukanora. The woman was a master manipulator. Lavinia would never speak ill of anyone, Noah said firmly, stepping forward to place a protective hand on my shoulder. My mate has too much integrity for petty gossip. Once, those words would have warmed me. Now they sounded like mockery coming from the mouth of a man who'd been buried inside his mistress less than 2 hours ago. But Chloe got fired, Luke insisted, climbing out of the car and rushing to Chloe's side. Someone had to tell Grandma something bad, and you're the only one who doesn't like her. Luke, I said quietly, my voice steady despite the chaos in my heart. You shouldn't make accusations without knowing the facts. My 5-year-old son looked at me, with Noah's stubborn chin raised defiantly. Then prove you didn't! Go tell Grandma not to fire Chloe right now, or I won't believe you! I watched in horrified fascination as Luke helped Chloe to her feet, fussing over her muddy dress while completely ignoring the fact that I was drenched and shivering in the cold rain. His small hands smoothed her wet hair back from her face with tender care he'd never shown me. Oh, Luke, Chloe said with perfect, practiced sweetness. You shouldn't speak to the Luna that way. She's your mother. But when Noah and Luke weren't looking, she caught my eye and gave me a small, triumphant smile that made my blood boil. I'll kneel here for as long as Luna Lavinia wants, Chloe announced loudly, making sure Luke could hear every word. I don't care if I catch pneumonia, as long as she doesn't have me banished from the pack. See? Luke turned to me with tears in his eyes. Chloe's willing to die for us. You have to help her, Mum. You have to convince Grandma. Everything will be fine once Chloe is properly dismissed, Noah said, though his words carried a strange undertone I couldn't quite place. You could even go speak to my mother directly, Luke. I'm sure she'd listen to you. I stared at him in shock. Was he actually giving our son the idea to plead Chloe's case to Ilukanora? That's it! Luke's face lit up like Christmas morning. I'll go beg Grandma myself. Chloe, you have to come with me. She needs to see how good you are. Before I could protest, Luke was pulling Chloe toward the car, both of them climbing into the back seat together. I watched my precious boy, my only child, treat this woman like she was his real mother, arranging her wet shawl around her shoulders and promising her everything would be okay. Once Chloe is out of our lives, everything will return to normal, Noah said softly, moving to stand beside me. I promise you, Livy, our family will heal. I looked at him, this man I'd loved for 10 years. Did he truly believe what he was saying? Did he really think we could just erase Chloe and pretend none of this had happened? There's no going back, Noah, I said quietly. Some things can't be undone, but I knew there was no going back. Too much had been broken. Too much had been revealed. I'll drive myself, I said when Noah gestured toward his car. Livy, there's no need. I said I'll drive myself. I was afraid if I shared a car with them, I might lose control and kill them all. We drove to the Redgrave estate in separate vehicles, the rain continuing to pound against my windshield. Each drop felt like a tear I could no longer shed. The moment I parked, Ilukanora rushed out with pack servants holding umbrellas. She wrapped her arms around my soaked form without hesitation. My dear child, you're freezing, she said, her voice filled with genuine concern. Come inside immediately. She guided me into the warm sitting room, ordering servants to bring hot moonlight herb tea and thick blankets. Her care felt like a mother's love, something I'd been starving for. Ilukanora had been my mother Lyra's best friend. After Lyra's death, she'd cared for me like her own daughter. In the warmth of the room, she took my cold hands in hers. I know everything, Lavinia, she said softly. Whatever decision you make, I will always support you. I stand firmly on your side. Her words broke something loose in my chest. Finally, someone who truly cared about me. I opened my mouth to tell her about my decision to sever the mate bond, to explain everything I'd discovered. That's when Luke burst through the door. He threw himself at Elikanora's legs and began to cry, his small body shaking with sobs. Grandma, please don't send Chloe away, he begged. I promise I'll never call her mummy again. Please, please, don't make her leave. Chapter 6. The Final Blow. Lavinia's point of view. Luke! Ilucanora's voice cracked like a whip. How dare you call that woman mummy? My son flinched but didn't back down. His small chin jutted out defiantly. Your mother is Lavinia, Ilucanora continued, her tone stern but loving. She sacrificed her health and her own wolf to bring you into this world. She's been suffering the consequences ever since, and you will show her respect. Luke's face twisted with anger. Nobody forced her to have me. The words hit me like a physical blow. My own child, my precious boy, speaking to me like I was a burden. Ever since I was born, all anyone talks about is how much Mum struggled, Luke shouted. She's always telling me what I can't do, what I shouldn't touch, what I'm not allowed to have. Whenever I voiced a different opinion, my father, grandmother, and aunt would tell me how difficult it was for my mother to give birth to me, and that I wasn't allowed to go against her wishes. Tears streamed down his face, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of frustration and rage. Chloe lets me do whatever I want. She plays with me and reads to me and doesn't yell at me all the time. What's so wrong with liking her better? Every word stabbed my heart like a dagger. It turned out that my attempts to control him, which I thought were for his own good, meant nothing to him. Luke, maybe I was a bit too strict with you before. That was my fault as your mum. Would you be willing to give me another chance? I tried to make one last attempt in a calm voice. Stop pretending, he shouted. You just want all of us to revolve around you. You don't think you've done anything wrong. You just can't stand it when people don't like you. But Dad likes Chloe more too, doesn't he? Luke! Noah's voice boomed as he roughly grabbed our son's shoulder. That's enough, but the damage was done. The truth had spilled from innocent lips. I looked at Noah, and for the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. Not fear of losing me, fear of being exposed. Chloe knelt on the floor, clinging to Ilucanora's leg like a desperate child. Please, Elder Alucanora, I'm begging you, don't fire me. I'll do anything, work in the kitchens, clean the floors, anything. Elucanora knocked Chloe's hands away with disgust. My decision is final. You're fired. Her voice was ice cold. You must stay away from Luke, you must leave the pack, and you must go tonight. Chloe's face crumpled, but I caught the flash of calculation in her eyes. She wasn't done yet. Luke dropped to his knees in front of me with a thud, his small hands clutching my skirt tightly. Mum, please. I know I was wrong, okay? I'll apologize, all right? You have to help Chloe. Tell Grandma she can stay. I looked down at my son, this pup I'd nearly died bringing into the world, and felt something cold settle in my chest. I'm tired. I don't want to go along with everything he wants anymore. No, Luke. I won't. His face went white with shock. Then he turned and ran upstairs, his sobs echoing through the house. Chloe slowly rose to her feet, brushing dirt from her knees. When she looked at me, her mask had completely slipped. Even if I leave, she said with a twisted smile, you'll never win his heart. She cast a provocative glance at Noah, her meaning crystal clear. Something snapped inside me. My hand moved before I could think, connecting with her cheek in a sharp crack that echoed through the room. Stop looking at me like that, I snarled. Chloe's head snapped to the side, a red handprint blooming on her pale skin. But instead of anger, she looked triumphant. I want to slap again. A scream came from upstairs. Luke's hurting himself. An Omega maid came rushing down the stairs, her face white with panic. He's got a silver knife. My blood turned to ice. Noah and I bolted for the stairs, Elucanora close behind. We burst into Luke's room to find him standing by his desk, a silver letter opener clutched in his small fist. Blood dripped from a gash on his forearm, staining his white shirt crimson. Luke! I lunged forward, but he held the blade higher. Stay back, he screamed. I know you love me more than anything, Mom. So now that I'm hurt, all I want is for Chloe to stay and take care of me. Can't you do that for me? My heart turned to stone. My own son, my precious boy, was willing to hurt himself just to break my heart and keep his father's mistress. I can find another nanny to stay with you, I said, my voice deadly calm. It doesn't have to be Chloe. I only want Chloe. Luke's voice cracked with desperation. Don't you love me most of all, Mom? Why can't you let Chloe stay? You're just jealous because she's young and beautiful. The accusation hit me like a slap. My 5-year-old son thought I was jealous of my husband's mistress. I will never agree, I said quietly. No matter what. Luke's face contorted with rage. He raised the silver blade and slashed his arm again, deeper this time. Blood splattered on the floor. Luke? Is this how you threaten your mother? I was very disappointed. I'm not threatening you, I just want you to agree. Do you agree? He roared hysterically. Go on then, I said, my voice empty of all emotion. Enough! Noah suddenly grabbed my arm violently and shoved me aside. Why can't you let Chloe stay for Luke's sake? He likes her. Why would you let our son get hurt over some Omega? Lavinia, when did you become so cold-hearted? They were the ones who betrayed me, yet now they're saying it's my fault. Luke dropped to his knees again, blood still flowing from his wounds. Mum, please. My birthday's in 30 days. The only present I want, the only thing I want is for Chloe to stay by my side forever. I look down at this child who shared my blood, my DNA, my very essence. This boy I'd sacrificed everything for. Luke, I said, I consider you a big boy now, so I'm going to ask you one final, serious time. I knelt down to meet his eyes, my voice steady as granite. I will give you 3 chances to reconsider.
Free trial chapters of this book are over. Do you like it? If you enjoy this book, please support the author's work by clicking the link below and buy it on Amazon Kindle. Have a nice day. See you in the next video.